We have a very interesting subject to pursue today. The communication and diffusion strategies for innovation. And after a brief presentation, we will divide into our sectoral groups today. So governance group separate, the poverty alleviation separate, sustainability separate. We will go back into our respective groups as the UNDP is organized, and the science and technology can join any one of them, and then develop strategies in the light of what we are going to discuss, which can improve the replication or diffusion of our innovation. The difference between replication and diffusion is, the replication is as it exists, we make it happen somewhere else, same way. But in diffusion, not everything gets diffused. So one of the questions that arises is, should every aspect of innovation be diffused? And an innovation is a system, is a complex arrangement for solving a problem. It includes technology, it includes institutions, it includes culture, it includes resources. So resources, technology, institutions, culture, all are part of an innovation, isn't it? You agree with that? Now, when we diffuse, not everything gets diffused, or not everything gets diffused on priority. We'll take some examples today and see within the technology, then technology can be for different groups of community members, different segments of community members. So there's still complexity in diffusion, which many times the literature may have ignored. There are two issues that we are trying to look at carefully. One, which aspect of the innovation should be diffused or should be diffused on priority? And how do we decide which part of the innovation will be taken by the people more easily? So let's take an example. Let's take water. Water for human beings, water for animals, water for agriculture or crops, water for washing clothes, water for sanitation, and others. Each of this need may not be met by the same technology, same institutional arrangement, same resource, and similar cultural changes. To give an example, in many parts of the world, there is a water body, a tank. If animals also drink water from the same tank, and we also drink the water from the same tank, then a lot of diseases can spread. So there is an institutional arrangement that the drinking water tank is never used by animals. This is not a technology issue, it's an institutional issue. And rules, norms have to be evolved. And these norms have to be complied by the members of the community. Now people who have animals will say, but you have not provided a separate drinking water point for animals. What do we do? All right, we modify our plan. We will provide a separate drinking water point for animals so that they don't pollute the drinking water point for humans. Then question arises, who will fill the drinking water trough for animals? How will we fill it? Will we need an engine, a pumping arrangement for pumping the water from main tank to the animal drinking water tank? These are all questions that will arise the moment we start asking ourselves, what are we trying to diffuse? For whom and in which order? Sometimes people say, please first give priority to our animals. They are our source of livelihood. We will manage. We have had our practices, traditional practices of taking water out from the water holes. We will manage. But for animals, we make an effort. We have to make an effort, extra effort. But we designed the project for human drinking water. We had not designed it for animal. But animals need water. So please appreciate that when we diffuse innovation, first we apply the innovation, then we diffuse it from one location to another. In different locations, same project will have different set of priorities. There is a place which is near the city, and therefore vegetable cultivation is very profitable. People will say first priority is irrigation for vegetable. Not animal, not human. Our crop, our vegetables. Priority has changed. Therefore the design will change. For when we diffuse this innovation from first setting to the second setting to the third setting. So the point to remember is that when we design diffusion strategies, we have to appreciate and accept or recognize that in different locations, the priorities of the communities will not be same. And therefore, the diffusion strategy cannot be same. This is very important for complex projects. This is very important for institutional projects. This is also important for technological projects. Unfortunately, many times, if we keep only one focus, we will neglect the priorities of the people, and therefore adoption of innovation may go down. It worked very well there. Why isn't it working here? Maybe because the priorities of this group, this community, are different, and we have not made our project flexible enough to be tailored to the new needs. I will stop here and would like to hear from you. Does it make sense? Do you realize this contradiction, this paradox, that same project during diffusion needs to be adapted to the community needs, which are not same in every location? Is it true? Do you agree with that? Any example where you have faced difficulty while doing this? While replicating, while diffusing the innovation, have you faced some difficulty? Do you have an example? Anybody? Yeah, please.
Bueno, muy buenos días. Respecto como a las prioridades de las comunidades, pues el ejemplo que yo tengo, o sea, me tocó vivirlo en una comunidad. Yo me voy a parar porque es que sí estoy como estrechita. Me tocó vivirlo en una comunidad, más que al momento de implementar una innovación, pues llegamos a la comunidad para una inversión de unos recursos que eran pequeños, pues que eran cortos, y debíamos concertar con esta comunidad como cuál era la necesidad que íbamos a tener en cuenta. Y desde que llegamos evidenciamos que había como dos bandos. Entonces había una parte de la comunidad que decía, miren, tenemos un sistema de transporte pues, de agua, como de llevar agua a las casas, ya muy viejo, y aparte se había encontrado que donde estaba la toma del agua, estaban creciendo unas algas que estaban quitando oxígeno. O sea, el agua para consumo humano no era apta en ese momento, entonces había que hacer un nuevo proceso de distribución de agua en esa comunidad, una comunidad rural. El otro bando y estaba conformado por las mujeres más que todo, con las madres, cabeza de familia. Ellas decían, no, acá definitivamente una comunidad donde el clima muy caliente, o sea, muy duro el clima en ese territorio, decían, no, acá definitivamente hay que priorizar en solucionar lo del escenario deportivo, donde todos los jóvenes y los niños van a hacer deporte, primero porque está muy malo y debemos poner una cubierta. O sea, en el momento nosotros nos miramos y decíamos, bueno, es que es el agua. O sea, no lo dijimos directamente, pero comenzamos a evidenciar que cada una de esas solicitudes era totalmente legítima, teniendo en cuenta que un territorio de conflicto, muchos de los jóvenes iban a buscar compartir, tener como sus espacios para jugar, finalmente jóvenes y chicos, a otra vereda, y el conflicto había llevado a que muchos de estos jóvenes, el reclutamiento, habían matado a otros 2 chicos de 16, 17 años, y las mamás como que la intención que tenían era que estos jóvenes no salieran de la comunidad. O sea, ellas encontraban como una solución, era que el espacio deportivo lo tuvieran ahí mismo, que no se les fuera como de su rango de visión o de control sus jóvenes y sus niños. Y el otro bando pues decía, no, es que era el agua. Y ahí el dilema, o sea, ¿cómo priorizar si son tan legítimas las necesidades y los argumentos que propone la comunidad, que son quienes conocen su dinámica territorial? Eso me pasó en algún momento y fue muy complejo, como hacia dónde enfocar esos recursos que eran muy pequeños.
Very interesting.
Para mí.
And before we listen to the second example from you, it's very instructive to note that at a short distance, not too far, you had this contradiction. Contradiction is not in just of purpose for which water has to be given, but the process through which water has to be given. Transportation or location of the water point closer to the second hamlet, second community, role of young people. Sometimes the quality of water. Water may be hard and it may require filtration. If hard water is used for washing clothes, you spend more soap. Isn't it? You have to spend more soap to clean the clothes. And community says, please think of a filter which reduces the salt content enough to wash the clothes. Not for drinking. For drinking, you have to reduce it further. So the filter for washing clothes and filter for drinking are not same. They need not be same. So we are adding complexity. We are adding complexity of transportation of water. We are adding complexity of purpose of water. We are adding complexity of quality of water. Why are we doing that? Because we want to be as close as possible to the needs of the people. Yes, please.
Pienso que en los arreglos institucionales es muy importante entender la solución funciona para quién. ¿A quién priorizamos en ese proceso? Porque la noticia que dices, el tema del agua en los tanques para primero los humanos y después los animales, y en ese orden, ¿quién lo da? ¿Lo da la comunidad o lo da la institucionalidad? Ahí es donde uno pensaría, aquí tenemos que priorizar al que menos tiene acceso a eso, pero lo necesita por las condiciones críticas de su desarrollo, que de pronto no tiene acceso, recursos financieros que le permitan acceder a esa solución y le pueda estar salvando la vida. Por ejemplo, el tema de saber que en los charcos o pozos de agua estancados se reproduce el mosquito que produce la fiebre amarilla, el dengue, la malaria, pues eso afecta a las comunidades más, digamos que marginales, y saber y descubrir que ahí es donde se están proliferando pues ese método tiene que priorizarse en estas comunidades para saber cómo manejar esos estanques y cambiar esa situación. Entonces creo yo que en los arreglos institucionales hay que pensar en la integralidad y digamos que en todos los actores que están afectados en lo ancho y largo de las comunidades, entendiendo esas primeras necesidades.
Bueno, esto es algo muy básico, pero, por ejemplo, tenemos el problema de generación de ingresos y lo vamos a solucionar con un proyecto de cerdos. Si estoy en la sabana de Bogotá, seguramente se hacen unas porquerizas muy tecnificadas, con cemento, animales encerrados, alimentación con concentrado. Pero si lo voy a hacer en una comunidad campesina, pensaría, la solución es la misma, genero ingresos a través de cerdos, pero hagamos un sistema de semipastoreo, alimentación complementaria, un manejo más tradicional. Entonces, es como ajustar la solución a las condiciones que yo voy a encontrar. A veces como técnicos somos tercos porque pensamos que esa solución tecnificada es lo que va a funcionar en todas partes o que es mejor porque es tecnificada. Y resulta que no, resulta que la solución es la misma, pero en ciertas zonas funcionan mucho mejor la misma solución, pero adaptada al territorio de las personas.
Bueno, el planteamiento del profesor me recuerda a una misión internacional que realicé hace algunos años en el norte del África, en el cual se estaban instalando unos pozos de agua para las mujeres. Las mujeres tenían que caminar varios kilómetros, como 2,5 kilómetros, para lavar la ropa, sus enseres y demás de los niños. Entonces se instalaron unos pozos cercanos y esos pozos empezaron a ser dinamitados. Entonces había un problema, con cierta frecuencia ocurrían estas explosiones, se instalaba como a los 2 días dinamitaban el pozo. El resumen era que las mismas mujeres eran quienes dinamitaban el pozo, porque ellas, el momento de ir al río a lavar, a hacer sus cosas, era el momento de alejarse de sus esposos, de alejarse de sus familias, de tener su espacio propio, y ellas preferían hacer eso. Nunca fue socializado, nunca tuvimos, claramente luego hablamos con los proyectos, con las ONGs que estaban en estas organizaciones, y lo primero que se pensó fue en la intervención antes de evaluar en sí si era pertinente esa solución. Eso es.
A good example of how by bypassing the cultural dimension of the community, we can miss the point. We take a technocratic view that yes, providing water closer is an answer, but women say, but we want to be away from the family, we want to chat with each other, we want to spend some time with ourselves. And I think that was neglected, and that is why this consequence. This is a very interesting example. Please.
Sí, nosotros desarrollamos un programa con el Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología, y yo les contaba el otro día que tuvimos una discusión muy fuerte entre la solución de silvopastoriles y agua. La comunidad finalmente optó por el agua. Eran en la localidad de Playa Rica 60 familias muy dispersas, distancias grandes. Entonces nuestro aliado en la implementación era la Universidad Nacional, que es la mejor universidad del país, y se diseñó una muy buena solución que tenía que ser innovadora, era digamos el requisito que pedía el Ministerio de Ciencia. Efectivamente se hizo una solución de agua en tanques acrílicos, los filtros eran de las esponjas con las que uno lava la loza. Bueno, era súper lindo, total, que con todo lo que tenía, tubería, etcétera, costaba 10 millones cada solución, con otros costos de personal, etcétera, nos daba una cobertura de 30 familias, no de 60 familias, pero era la mejor solución, realmente resolvía los problemas. Y cuando la comunidad, se discutió con la comunidad del diseño, ellos dijeron, no nos sirve, porque nosotros somos 60 familias y no 30, y porque nadie más va a volver a invertir aquí en agua, entonces nosotros necesitamos una solución de agua potable para los 60, 30. Entonces la universidad y nosotros tuvimos que volvernos y hacer otro diseño. Se hizo un nuevo diseño, teniendo en cuenta una infraestructura. Esta es una zona donde las antiguas FARC fueron muy poderosas, tenían como un simulacro de acueducto, un acueducto más o menos funcionando, entonces se iba a poner a funcionar ese acueducto y hacer un sistema de distribución un poco innovador para que saliera de bajo costo. No lo pudimos hacer porque este acueducto estaba en un predio que estaba pedido por restitución de tierras. Entonces, otra vez el diseño que hizo la universidad no funcionaba. Era el segundo diseño. Luego tocó hacer un tercer diseño que fue modular, y fueron soluciones que se hacían para cada 10 familias o 5 familias, eran nucleadas, pero no fue agua potable, porque ellos seguían en la posición de para las 60 familias. Trabajamos con agua segura, unos sistemas nucleados más económicos. Entonces, lo que quería contarles es que fue la tercera solución. Ustedes se imaginan lo que eso significa en un proyecto. Discutir no fue, además la universidad pues ya estaba también, los equipos de la universidad agotados, ya no vamos a hacer más diseños, pero pues también el reto que nosotros les poníamos, pero ustedes son la mejor universidad del país, comprometida con la paz, ¿cómo van a salir de aquí sin una solución, no? Pero realmente fue un reto muy grande. Esto implica para un proyecto que pasa tiempo, que no ejecutamos, que comenzamos a tener muchas presiones, digamos, de las instituciones, de nuestra misma organización, porque no avanzábamos, de verdad, pasó mucho tiempo y no avanzamos, y luego la solución nos tocó implementarla en la pandemia. Pero lo interesante es que como esta solución había sido discutida, era para las 60 familias, las familias, por un lado, la Junta de Acción Comunal, etcétera, pusieron muchísimo en medio de la pandemia para que el material pudiera llegar. Recuerden que en esa época lo que tenía que ver con agua tenía permisos de movilización, y luego los recursos seguían sin alcanzar, entonces la gente comenzó a poner, nosotros ponemos la tubería, yo pongo mi planta solar, o sea, hacían como su presupuesto, y ellos decían qué solución, qué parte de la solución financiaban ellos con los recursos que tenían y qué ponía el programa. Eso fue súper interesante, pero esto, digamos, es es súper interesante porque es una discusión, una construcción conjunta y de verdad una solución adecuada a la comunidad, pero implica tiempos mayores, muchos tiempos mayores. Esto nos pudo tomar, no sé, unos 8 o 10 meses más de lo previsto, que ustedes saben lo que significa en un proyecto, pero fue la solución que realmente quedó funcionando y con la que la comunidad se comprometió y puso sus propios recursos, etcétera. Pero quiero decir que esto de la innovación y buscar soluciones apropiadas para la comunidad toma un tiempo y tenemos que tener la flexibilidad y la mente abierta para que realmente lo podamos hacer. Si el proyecto es demasiado rígido, porque tenemos donantes también que no permiten los cambios o no podemos tener extensiones de los proyectos, etcétera, entonces también nos limita mucho en la búsqueda de esas soluciones y de esas negociaciones.
Extremely important points have been brought out. What's your name, please? Claudia has brought out extremely important point like the other speakers did before. And the most important point is appropriate design. A suitable design needs time. It needs iteration. It needs multiple revisions in the blueprint. Blueprint approach doesn't work in social development. You go with one design, no matter how well prepared, but it will need to be modified. It will need to be iterated through interactions with the community. You decide to locate at a place and that place is marked for redistribution, land redistribution. The location is not suitable now. It is not in your hand. You could not have anticipated this. So the argument that extremely good market research or extremely good background research will prevent us from spending time in revising is not correct. For those of you who would like to, who may know already, but some may not know, that despite very costly market research, the new product that companies introduce in the market, hardly 3 to 4% products only succeed. Every year, if you go to a marketplace, go to a shop, ask them how many products did you bring, new products did you bring to the shelf, and how many did succeed? 3 to 4% only. When corporations do market research with huge money and modern techniques and whatever have you. So, yes, we should do a lot of prior search, prior preparation, no doubt. But that does not guarantee that we will not have to modify. This is an important lesson. The second lesson is that there is a time that is spent in modification. And this time is better spelled out in the design of the project itself. That look, we want to be close to the expectation of the communities or multiple communities, not just one community, multiple communities, multiple segments of the same community. Women, men, young, old, poor, not so poor, or rich. And their needs are also very different. And we have to take them together. We can't focus only on one segment because society is complex. So, time is very important. Time for discussion, time for negotiation, time for understanding, time for redrawing, time for finding out new solutions. This brings us to the very important point where ACT Lab can and has played an important role, and which is to build databases of innovations, different elements of innovations. So we need database of technological innovation in water. We need database of institutional innovation in water. We need database of governance of water authority, how different ways in which water governance takes place. We need database of cultural complexity, how cultural convergence is brought when water projects take place. Such databases must be provided for in every project. Every project should allocate some budget to build databases of solutions on different aspects of the innovation. This is one of the most important budget head in the project. I can assure you that from hands, when we come back in the afternoon after tea and we do the strategies part of the diffusion, oh, he is, okay. So let's see how far we can go today. But if we develop diffusion strategies and we don't have database, we have to learn by trial and error.
Can I add something?
Please.
Those who have not filled the form, please do it so that we start something tangible.
Starts with
Yes, from the class itself. And remember, it is not one for one solution. You can provide details of as many solutions you have come across or you are aware about.
How many have responded so far?
12.
So there are 40.
We need
It's a
that.
good point.
Yeah.
Good point, right time. That right, the first database that we built on the first day was very rich. And every day, every class, we are getting new insights. 4 or 5 examples have come today. How problems were addressed by modifying the design through innovative arrangements of delivery, of technology, of locating the spatial location of the solutions, etc. So I appeal to all of you. Both of us are very keen. The Honeybee Network has begun with databases, open access databases. We are one of the largest provider of open access solutions in the world. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, 131,000 solutions are available in open access at nifindia.org. Open access. Anybody can see them. Why are we providing? I told you we provided 1 million abundant patents in the database. 1 million. Why did we do that? We want to increase the choice of all of you. When you design projects and you are trying earnestly to meet the expectation of the communities, ACT Lab made 75 innovations which have been shared with all of you, UNDP, Columbia, ACT Lab group, isn't it? And they like to do more. But it is not the lab alone which will map the solutions. It is every wing, every group of UNDP will do the same. That is why this course has been designed. That it is not a one group's activity. Learning cannot be delegated. We cannot compartmentalize, you do learning for me. That's not the way it works, you know. All of us have to learn. And if all of us have to learn, every segment, the justice, the peace, the governance, the poverty elevation, the sustainability, every group will have to contribute to the database development. And these should be shared along openly with everybody. So I will say, oh, there is other dimension in this experience that you are sharing, and I will annotate it, I will add to it. So databases should be interactive so that people can annotate or comment on the practices and modify them as the database grows. This is the heart of the matter. This is heart of the matter. Database on water distribution, database on water site and location of the water point, database on water filtration, database on water, database should have all of these aspects of water. The whole value chain of water, there are multiple solutions available for each aspect of the water. Just an example. And similarly for conflict resolution, similarly for peace, similarly for bio-enterprise, similarly for livelihoods of different kinds, craft activities, agriculture, plant protection, pest control. Whole range of livelihood strategies need choices. But database of people's innovation will require one very basic understanding. We must have a faith that people in Colombia and region in other countries around it and other parts of the world are capable of solving some problems on their own. This faith is fundamental. If you don't have this faith, you will not look for solutions. If you don't look for solutions, your database will never come up. It's very important. And I think in every project, focus may be one, but there may be several side dimensions on which knowledge will emerge. Let's go further. How much time?
We have time, so I think we'll break at 15 to 10, okay. So quarter to 10, so then he has 2 hours.
All right.
We could
What
do
time?
it at 10. We can have a break at 10.
Then
10.
he will have only 1:45.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have it.
You were about to explain that.
So we are talking about
Oh, this was here.
That was a solution.
it didn't work. Oh, it is permanent marker. I'm sorry about that. All right. There are four things that we have already talked about. We talked about resources. We talked about institutions. We talked about technologies. And we talked about culture. Now, all the four dimensions of an innovation need to be dealt with through 4 variables that are in our hand. Access to resources. So when I make a map of a region where I'm going to diffuse or apply an innovation, I will mention how good is the access to resource. The land which was going to be redistributed is not accessible now. We thought it was accessible. Correct? So therefore, access to the resource where I'm going to implement the project will have to be evaluated, will have to be identified will have to be assessed. I will have to find out. I cannot assume that it is available. In this case, it was not available. So we will see how good the access is, access to the institutions, access to the technology, access to the culture. Then assurances. Assurances are of two kinds: horizontal and vertical. Vertical assurance is, if I plant trees today, will I be allowed to cut it after 20 years or 15 years? If I make an aqueduct, will I be allowed to maintain it and repair it over the next 20 years or 2 generations or 1 generation? Future returns from present investment. That is called vertical assurance. Assurance in future, about future uncertainty. That is vertical assurance. Horizontal assurance. If I contribute to the maintenance of the aqueduct, will others also contribute? The collective choice problem. The uncertainty in collective action. That is called horizontal assurance. I need assurance that if I'm not going to graze animals in the pasture plot, you mentioned about Sylvie pasture plot or Sylvie pastoral system, if I don't want to graze by animals there because young grass has been planted or young seedlings of trees have been planted, will others also cooperate? That requires institution building. That requires group decision making. It is not an issue of technology. It's an issue of institution. So assurances. And then ability. The skills. Do I have the skill to maintain the aqueduct? If there's a leakage, how do I repair it? Do I have concrete? Do I have cement? Do I know how much of water and cement have to be mixed before putting it in the crack? If I dilute it, if I mix too much of sand to the cement, is it possible that the leakage will again happen again? It's a skill. Building, construction, repair is a skill. You cannot assume that people have it. Have I provided in my project capacity building resource, capacity building budget? Building this skill. The example in Bahira was very good. In Bahira, they had skill building workshop for various kinds of wires, how to look at different wires, different components, electronic, how to join them, how to do welding, how to do soldering, how to make a conductor or a switch for the solar system, how to repair the solar system. They had a workshop for each element of the maintenance. Good idea, good design. It was a very prudent design. Skill was not assumed but was built. Many times in the project we assume that people have skills, and when they don't have, the project fails in the diffusion phase or in the implementation phase. And attitude. Women did not see water as only a physical need. They saw that as a cultural need to relax, need to talk to each other, need to be away from the burden of the everyday family chores. That is attitudinal issue. It has nothing to do with technology, nothing to do with resources. It is not part of the conventional institutional structure. When we, the men, design many projects, we ignore many times the gender issues, gender complexity. The attitude of women may not be same as men. To the same resource, Same solution. It is very critical, therefore, that a matrix of this kind, skill to use resource, skill for institution, skill for technology, skill for culture, attitude toward resource, attitude toward institution, attitude toward technology, attitude towards culture. 4 by 4, we have a matrix. We can point out under each cell my current understanding, degrees of freedom, and what I need to change. It is it's a playground where I can start playing with different variables and start modifying the project. If problem is in culture, I won't look for the solution in technology. I will rather take help of anthropologist or social scientist or the elders of the community and ask them to look, we can take care of resources, we can take care of technology, but we don't understand culture. Please help us understand. Because you have evolved this culture over millennia. How can we understand in 1 day or 2 days or 1 month? But we don't have infinite time. So guide us. How can we respect your cultural modes and at the same time bring about an innovation and help it diffuse in different regions? The example of 2 communities having different needs which you gave earlier. One was looking at transportation issue, other was looking at location issue. Because their cultural needs were different. Some communities, young people have migrated out. Only elderly people are there in that community. Their needs are different. Some communities, young people are available. We can think of a more labor-intensive solution there. So it's very important that we take this into account while doing with it. Now we come to the last part before we will do an exercise. So we have discussed now that engagement with the community for deciding innovation to be diffused will require looking at the differences or variabilities in resources, technologies, institutions, and culture. That we have understood now. But what we have to still understand is what criteria and indicator, the point that you made, whose priority, whose criteria? Our criteria, your criteria. And sometimes the criteria are emotional. Within the women, those who are pregnant cannot go far to bring resources, water or whatever else. How do we solve their problem? Their needs are different from the women who would like to go and spend far enough, isn't it? So even women's interests are not uniform. The pregnant woman and the other women are not facing the same challenge. We have to negotiate. We have to say, please don't explode this common point, at least one common point for pregnant and old women. Let it remain. They can't go that far to the river. Discuss it among yourselves. And maybe they will agree, yes, you are right. They can't go that far. They don't have young people in the family to go that far to bring. If we don't do this, we will have to bring water for them. A pregnant woman is not supposed to carry load. Abortion can take place. We have to be careful. When we bring emotional issues, cultural issues, maybe the solution emerges. It is not always good to see uniformity of interest. Sometimes the divergence of interest provides a solution. Women as a group are not same. Men as a group are not same. But this increases complexity. And as she said, Claudia said, you need more time to understand this and incorporate it. And I have to implement this project in 15 different communities. After doing the pilot, I have to diffuse the pilot into 15 different locations. Can I train the young people of each of the 15 communities in the skill of identifying the criteria and indicator of what a good solution is in this sector, say water? The young people, we train them to do research, action research. We train young people to do research so that they can help us in saving time. Otherwise, our team has to go and do 15 different replications of the discussion. We don't have time so much. Let us accept it. Let the best not become enemy of better. Please remember this. The best solution should not become enemy of a better solution. Never. Therefore, we will compromise. Yes, if I were to do research, I will do a great job. I have 40 years experience, but I can't do research everywhere. So I have to build the capability of my team. Not my team, but team of the committee members. And I can tell you with my experience of all these years that we can build the capacity of young people, even 10th class pass students, to do research. We have done that. It is possible to get research done by school dropouts. It is possible. A simple checklist of what criteria and indicators committees use to select innovations for widespread diffusion or adoption is what we want them to be trained in. These young people, boys and girls, will go in each of the 15 communities, identify the criteria and indicator of a successful project, a successful water project, let us say in this case. And then they will come back and present their priorities to the entire project team and the community team, community action board. Some discussion will take place, some negotiation will take place. We'll be very close to what communities want in this process. Do you think it is possible? Can we do this? Is it feasible? This is another aspect of our project design where solution mapping requires building capacity to search the criteria and indicator of a good solution. Before I map the solution, I should know what will be a good solution. A good solution should be which takes care of my needs of animals, needs of crop, needs of pregnant women, needs of suckling, feeding mothers, need for elderly people, needs of young people, needs for washing clothes, needs for filtering water, need for preventing the diseases which are spread through water. As I said other day, 60% of the human diseases are waterborne, are caused by water. But our project was on water. Now we have brought the issue of public health. Our project was for water distribution. But we have to remember that in the aqueduct, when there is no seasonal water supply, the small pools of water in the duct will become the breeding grounds for the mosquito larvae and spread malaria or dengue. This malaria or dengue will lead to morbidity, which means days gone without work, which means my decline in income, because I couldn't work 30 days in a month, I could work only for 20 days. 10 days I was sick. Project is on livelihood, project is on poverty elevation. through water in this case, let us say. But I will have to take care of public health issues also. We have to make sure that, please remember, mosquito does not breed in the running water. It only breeds in the standing pool of water, unconnected pools of water. I can't leave that. We'll have to go and clean this up. Or put some kerosene or something in this pool so that, if it is for agriculture, we can't put it if it is water for drinking. If it is for drinking, you're putting small drop of castor oil. That will not let the larvae grow, and it is good for human. So we will have to think of different solutions for different purposes. Where we will get solutions? We discussed earlier. We will need databases. So my suggestion is, when we design the project for implementation and diffusion, think of as many different dimensions of that problem for which we need solutions. So that simultaneously, when we are doing work, we are also building our database. And database which is rich in solutions. You will find a lot of examples in the water-based solutions or pest-based solution or whatever problem that you're dealing. Eventually, all the universities in Colombia should be requested to share the solutions that they have mapped in the sector that we are working. We will take the solutions from the institutions, formal institutions. We will take the solutions that people have developed. We need both. Sometime we will blend them. So let's go further. So, should people have choice? Of course they should have choice. And if they have to have a choice, have we conveyed the pros and cons of each choice? We discussed the other day prior informed consent. We should inform these people, if you blow up all the wells, consequence of that for pregnant women or sick people is this. You want to blow up, no problem. But you should know the consequence of what you're doing. That's our job. To bring pros and cons of each choice as much as dispassionately, as objectively, as truthfully, and sincerely as we can within our limitations. This is where innovation becomes paradoxical. What is paradox? Where the contradictions are highlighted. I'm a great believer in paradoxical thinking. I think the consensus approach has broken down. Paradoxes are the reality of life. Paradoxes in our life, paradoxes in the life of the people. If paradoxes are a reality, why shouldn't we upfront make it clear to people that, look, there will be tensions and contradictions in any choice we make. Not everybody will be happy. Not everybody's need can be satisfied. We make it clear. You decide how much trade-off you're going to make in meeting in need of group A or group B, men or women. That decision is yours. We will not make that decision. You will make the decision. But we will tell you that trade-offs are involved. Very important. Our conscience becomes more clear, our moral burden becomes lesser because we have shared the contradictions. You cannot blame us that we didn't tell you that. But we will not decide, the committee will decide. But they will decide the contradiction in these choices. Very, very important part of successful diffusion. So what are the ways now we are going to go further? As we discuss this, there is a given endowment, given skill, given resource, given technological availability. Now we are trying to match or blend our solution with that infrastructure. It may not match completely, but it is useful to know. Next. Now, there is a very simple way of anticipating some of the tensions, some of the paradoxes that we have. So we have a target group. Target group, let us say women. We have people who have the potential to use the resources that project provides. Man can also use water, man can also generate livelihood. Project is for women, but man can also use it. They have the potential to use it, they have the skill to use it. They may have a desire to use it. Ideally, we should target at those women who have the potential to use the resources and convert into a viable outcome. That is the ideal situation. Then we are not missing anything. But sometimes the actual participants can be here, can be here, can be out, can be out. That means some people who are not intended target group of the project get the benefit. We call it leakages. Correct? Every project has some leakage. We should accept it and mention it clearly in the assessment when we diffuse. There will be leakages. We will tolerate 10% leakage maybe. Don't say we will have 100% adoption by the target group. Please don't claim that, because we know we cannot control it. Let us be truthful. Let us accept. Why leakages? Leakage is the price you pay for peace. See the point? Leakage is the price we pay for peace. I don't like corruption. I don't like leakage. But if there is a leakage, and that leakage keeps some people peaceful, they don't destroy my project, they don't create tensions and violence in my area, I will bear with it. A small price to pay for peace. Peace is not cheap. Justice is not cheap. It costs resources. I'm being truthful. I'm being honest. I'm saying that I will not claim to do what sometimes is almost impossible. Some people, some vested interest in the community have a tendency to pilfer, no matter what project you have. You were to provide solar lights for public use. The chief takes one light and puts it in his house. Can you prevent it? You cannot. I will accept it. If it is 1 or 2 lights, I will accept it. I will not mind it. But I will take note of it and I will accept it that yes, there were a few leakages and we had to deal with them and accept them as a small price to pay for the larger social or community good. In diffusion of innovation systems, this problem often arises. And I thought, let me make it explicit so that our conscience is clear. We are not doing it, we are not masking it, we are not hiding it, we are admitting it. Because the purpose was to have peace, peaceful resolution of conflicts. For peaceful resolution of the conflict, we had to go beyond the boundary of the project sometimes. All of you who are involved in the peace process know that it becomes necessary sometimes. Isn't it true? Is there any example of where you have tolerated little leakage in the interest of the larger peace? Anybody would like to share an example, please? Last.
El caso está bien especial porque en innovación social se ve mucho este proceso en donde los jóvenes son el potencial, el motor que mueven las innovaciones. Tenemos un caso muy chévere en el tema de mesetas, en el tema turístico, en donde los jóvenes están diseñando una red de monitoreo a nivel operativo, a nivel estratégico y a nivel de flora y fauna alrededor del río. Pero son ellos solos los que están tratando de jalonar ese proceso. En ese digamos que, correr de esa idea, se están llevando por delante autoridades legítimas de hace muchísimo tiempo que no han hecho nada por ese proceso, ¿sí? Entonces va a haber una resistencia en donde cómo le vendemos esa idea bien vendida a estas autoridades para que acojan ese proceso. Entonces creo que ahí, lo que decía ahora el profesor, el tema debe ser participativo, es decir, no solo los muchachos llegar con una solución, sino que cada grupo poblacional debe aportar ideas de manera que se vayan convenciendo y comprometiendo en el proceso y no lleguen al final con una solución que les aparece como debajo del sombrero, esto es lo que nosotros le traemos y no se acepte. Ahí es donde vienen las resistencias y de pronto esas filtraciones en donde uno debe negociar ciertas cosas y obviamente no va a poder sacar esos actores de ese proceso porque están como autoridades legítimas en unos procesos que deben participar, pero van a ver que van a tener que movilizar su actitud frente a esos procesos. Entonces es un tema bastante complejo, pero creo que tiene una metodología que se puede aplicar fácilmente.
We were doing a study in Bhutan, I'll come back to you, and there was a problem that, similar to what you just mentioned, that wildlife, you were not allowed to hunt for wildlife, but if the wildlife attacks your crop, you could attack it. Now what happened many times, there is a wild boar comes, you hit it in the field, it runs into the forest. Now the forest says, you have attacked the animal in the forest. The farmer says, but I attacked him in my field, but he ran into the forest. Don't charge me, don't penalize me. There are things which are not in my control. Animal can run into the forest, what can I do? But it came to hurt my crop, that's why I attacked it. So there are sometimes situations beyond my control. Sometimes leakages are intended, but sometimes leakages or violation of the norm is unintended. I didn't want, but it happened. Because I'm dealing with what is called as a fugitive resource, fish, wildlife. These are fugitive resources, these are runaway. They are not in one place all the time. So in that case, it is not in my control all the time that I can ensure that I will not fish in that water. But the fish went away there, the whole school of the fish went there, I had to go there to catch it. So don't hold me responsible for that. I have to survive. So therefore, please go ahead, next point, yeah.
Gracias, está bastante interesante el tema y estamos haciendo las conexiones, porque precisamente para evitar los ensayos nos estás ofreciendo las bases de datos, está Propedia también, el mapeo de soluciones, las 170 y algo del laboratorio de aceleración. Entonces es clave consultarlas para evitar los ensayos, porque pues si bien la innovación necesita bastante ensayos, toca tener bastante cuidado porque las comunidades llevan años padeciendo esas necesidades o carencias. Y con nosotros, y nosotros han vivido y ahí están, han superado conflictos de más de décadas. Entonces, el asunto es que a veces si nos demoramos mucho en los ensayos, ensayando, desgastándolos a ellos, desgastando recursos, se pierde credibilidad, más que de uno como persona de la institución, se crean desgastes en los beneficiarios y es mucho error creer que tenemos la última palabra, ahí fallamos bastante. Lo clave que es, 3 cositas nomás, concertar con las comunidades, ellos pueden tener seguramente no los términos que tenemos nosotros tan elegantes, pero ellos tienen los términos, las bases de datos que el profesor dice, ellos las tienen, sus conocimientos alternativos empíricos. Vemos muchos empresarios en el mundo y en Colombia que tienen conocimientos alternativos empíricos empresariales y ahí tienen las empresas y demoran para retirarse porque saben que sus conocimientos alternativos empíricos la han sostenido durante décadas. Y lo otro, penúltimo, es dialogar con colegas. Tenemos colegas en los territorios, dialogamos. Si no tenemos colegas, hay socios y potenciales actores, potenciales socios actores que nos dan la clave, nos dicen pilas con esto, por esto, esto y esto, ¿sí? Entonces nos previenen cosas, de pronto pueden apoyarnos económicamente, ha sucedido. Uno habla y dice, no, yo puedo apoyar eso con tales recursos o alguna cosa. Y yo creo que todo esto se descarga finalizando, es voluntad de las partes. La parte 4 que dice allá, acceso, aseguramiento, habilidades y actitudes, actitudes con C de actuar, esas actitudes se resumen voluntad de las partes, tanto el que va a recibir el beneficio, que quiera recibirlo, de pronto uno cómo hace para obligarlo, no, no quiero eso, no quiero esos pozos de agua, quiero ir a tal lado. Sí, y de las partes que tienen el aseguramiento, el agenciamiento, el relacionamiento con comunidades, los recursos, las donaciones. Gracias.
You brought out a very important point. Yes, I'll come to you, please. Just 1 second. I want to flag that point which you have brought out. Extremely important point. In the last class, we will discuss this. You said that we have colleagues in the field who may have knowledge, have ideas which we have to draw upon. And this is always true. There are always people in the field who have a real knowledge of the place and the people without which we cannot work. So network approach to knowledge management is extremely important when we are diffusing or adopting innovations for the wider use. This is a very important point that you have mentioned. And so database should not give us a feeling that we have found all the possible solutions. That's the point you are making, very important point. No matter how comprehensive the database is, there will remain a need to learn from the people in the field. Even those people who are not part of the project, but they're observing us. They're bystanders. They're observing. As a third-party observer, they have a viewpoint. Listen to that. They are not stakeholder. Anytime we talk about stakeholder consultation, but that is not enough. People who are not a stakeholder in a project also have a view, also have an observation. They can also spread rumors. Please understand, in the diffusion of innovation, rumors play a very important role. Rumor, you understand rumors? Huh? Common word? And rumors can be positive and negative. Some people spread rumor, oh, these people have come, they will take away our children. We are taking them for training and building education or capacity. No, they will take them away. And nobody sends their children to our camp or our meeting. Young people run away. Rumor. Somebody has spread the rumor. So it is important, therefore, that we also talk to the colleagues in the field who are not part of the project. Those who are part, we will talk to them anyway. But this is a very important point. How do we create a network of interested knowledge holders, knowledge providers around the area, not necessarily in the project area, and learn from them when we are facing challenges? Because they don't have a vested interest. Their opinion might be more fair and more just and more dispassionate. Because they are not going to benefit from the project. They are not going to lose anything if we fail. They are not going to gain anything if we succeed. Therefore, their views may be impartial. Good point, very good point. Now, we summarize and then we will divide ourselves into sectoral groups. I'll just take 5 minutes and then we'll, for each, actually speaking in the next half an hour, what we're going to do is to get you back into your departments, the governance, poverty alleviation, all of the groups that you have in UNDP. And from that standpoint, we start looking at how the goals of exploration, experimentation, and mapping the solutions will be achieved within the framework of our activities. We, the project managers, the project leaders, the project organizers, how can we do that? And what are the specific changes in the budget heads will need to be made to ensure that it is done? So 1, 2, 3 points we have recognized since the morning today. One point we realized was that capacity building of the members of community to innovate, to experiment and innovate solution has to be built. To develop skills among them, to be able to maintain even the solar panels, or for that matter water bodies or aqueduct, will have to be done. So capacity building of the community, generally it is done, but as a specific exercise for innovation, for experimentation, we'll have to set aside some budget for that. We also said that there is a need for database development. No third party is going to do for us. And in this process, we will involve the community, young people in the community. We will also involve some graduates, some professionals, some retired people in the communities. We will take help of anybody and everybody around us who would help us in building the databases of solutions about technology, about institutions, about resources, and about cultural ways of solving problem. That is second thing. Third thing that you brought out, which is very important, and I'm happy that you said it. You said, we are not concerned only with local solution. What's the name, please? Maria. Maria said, local solutions can have global implications. It is true. It is 100% true. That's why we call this grassroots to global, G2G model. B2B, B2C, C2C, but also G2G, grassroots to global model. Grassroots solutions can be globalized. A grassroots solution from Indian desert could apply in Vahira region, possible. For storing fresh water in saline soils, we have a traditional solution for that, which Anamika other day mentioned in the discussion. A Virda system. How lateral recharge of the well, where the fresh water, rainwater, floats on the sea water. Specific gravity of the fresh water is different from the salty water. So this water spreads on it. On the top, you close it, the mouth of the well. When you need fresh water, you open it. Slowly and slowly, after 2 months, the fresh water becomes saline. You abandon it, go to the next Virda, next water hole. Traditionally, people have developed lateral recharge, not from below, because below water is saline. In saline groundwater, in saline soil, how can we store rainwater, which is clean distilled water? That is a technology some community have developed. We can share that with Vahira community. Maybe they find it useful, they can adopt it. They don't find useful, they will modify it. But G2G is a reality of our life. You mentioned that it will be very costly otherwise if we have to develop solution for every problem. You are right. This course is about that. How do we map the solutions that exist in our region, solutions that can be generated in our region, solutions that can be brought in from other regions to our region? We will use solutions that exist, we will co-create solutions that need to generate, and we will also import solutions. No hesitation in that. Phones were not invented in Colombia. Everybody is using phone now. Everybody, poor people and rich people. They're all using phone, isn't it? We did not hesitate. Why should we hesitate in bringing a solution from another community? In India, in Peru, in Mexico, from wherever. So this is very important that we recognize G2G model And the three functions of the acceleration lab, we are trying to incorporate in our strategy. So I'll stop here and let us hear from each group. Governance maybe first. How would you think? Would it, huh? Or they can sit together. Now you go back into your departmental groups. Go back into your departmental groups. We don't want mixing now. Please sit according to your departments, if possible, quickly. We have about 20 minutes. And discuss and articulate.
Of what a database does. So when we made this database, we have had around 9,000 visits, around 10,000 in fact, and we can get the distribution. And each time somebody wants to ask a question, we get a query, and then we choose to answer them. So you are expanding not only the canvas of your work, but you are also mapping which department will emerge in UNDP next. Right now, the problems are water, peace, governance. The next set of problems might be something different. And you will be ahead of time by mapping these solutions, because these solutions are also telling you the unmet needs of the people. And you can maybe formalize a department sometime in future, maybe in 5 years or 10 years, because you know what the community wants. We cannot solve the problems with the old solutions we have. We have existed for decades now, and sometimes some changes, because this is a dynamic system, some changes will happen. Just to give you an example of how UNDP, like your departments can inbuild the accelerator lab functions, is something that you have already been doing. When you formulate a project, you first see the unmet need. Where are we lacking? Where the community needs, right? So we are starting with the unmet need. Then you try to find solution which can work. So you are doing solution mapping already. You are mapping partners from universities, from research labs, from government departments who can help you. Then you go to the field and you are experimenting with solutions. For now, the solutions are more from the formal sector. With this exercise, maybe you will experiment some solutions from the informal sector, or the community institutions, or the individuals. So you are becoming an experimenter, and later when you collate the results, you find policy directives, and you find if we can expand the canvas to include more departments, more people, or more communities. And so you are exploring the policy adjustments that you will need. So in fact, all of you are doing the accelerator lab functions. We are just expanding it to include some more informal sector innovations or the community innovations, so that our interventions are more enriched. So I hope I've been able to answer your question. Thank you. So.
And it is very interesting if you see the analytics. People from Latin America, Africa, Australia, Europe, China, all over the world are accessing the grid.undp.org.in. Now this gives visibility to your work. Your innovation, where can it find application? You do not know always, isn't it? Strangers will decide that. So open databases have a great merit that they make it possible for strangers to find you, and relevance of theirs. That is the advantage. At the moment, the UNDP Act Lab network database is not open. It has not been opened as yet. That decision will be taken at some stage under certain considerations. But today it is open to only UNDP family, the lab network, to be honest, and us, people like us who are collaborating there. But otherwise it is not accessible to open. But grid.undp.org.in, which has innovations from and for grassroots, is open to all. So the question that you asked about curation, the concept of PIC, prior informed consent, that we got introduced in the energy campaign, was essentially to fulfill one of the requirements that do we have informed consent of the innovator or innovator organization to add their knowledge to our database. Do we have? Second, whether it is IP protected or DIY. That is one of the questions we have added in the new framework. So If it is IP protected, you have to take license. UNDP does not want to get involved at the moment in licensing innovation. So the only innovations that UNDP felt they will deal with is which are open, which means anybody can use them, no restriction, no permission required. So therefore, there are certain curation process that they have added to make sure that in the energy campaign, at least second round of campaign, first round there were no such restriction, but second round they have become wiser and they have added several considerations which make it possible to diffuse the innovation across the countries, across the world, from one country to another. In fact, we are going to have on 19th November a spin-in and spin-off for discover and deployment, where labs will discuss with each other which innovations they can take and apply from one country to another, something that we did last year also. So this is a good question, where do we upload? We can think of, you can create your own open database, and that can be linked to this database. You can do what appropriate dimension, you can do what the network is doing. There are many ways in which this can be done. But do consider sharing your innovations in open as far as possible, so that more people in the world know what you have done, what you have, how you have discovered a solution and benefit from it. I'm a great believer in open innovation, open knowledge, open access. That is the heart of the matter for development. It is inclusive, it is accessible, and it is available to everybody in the world around.